Okay, so the big news this week that shocked the industry and got gamers talking around the world is the fact that Square Enix has sold off a lot of their big Western IP. So this is Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, Legacy of Kain, and more. So all of these games have been sold off to Embracer Group. Now, if you want to see the full press release and details of that, make sure you check out my video that I did recently on the channel. You can find it right there on my homepage. And of course, I'll have a link for you guys in the description as well, going over all of the fine details. But in this video, we're going to talk about some of the reaction that I've seen from gamers out there and also in videos as well. Many of you guys have reached out to me, has kind of talked back to me saying, hey, you know what, OJ, Square Enix kind of got low-key fleeced. That Tomb Raider and that Deus Ex is worth well more than $300 million, and they don't know why Square Enix went so low, and people are throwing out the sales numbers of Tomb Raider because the Embracer Group let us know how much it's sold over the decades that the franchise has been around, and people are saying there's no way that it's not worth more than $300 million, which in my opinion, based on what I'm seeing and how I analyze the market, that's about what they were going to get for Tomb Raider at this point. Now, maybe in the past, Tomb Raider could have been worth more than what it is right now. But right now, at this point, I think it's worth about what they got for it. Because let's be real here, this was Tomb Raider. Deus Ex is nowhere near as popular when it comes to sales, franchise sales, or anything like that. It's just not. So this was essentially a Tomb Raider deal and throw in some other stuff for window dressing. But before we get into any of that and more, what's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Now let's go ahead and jump into this, because the thing that I see a lot is that they should have got more for Tomb Raider, and they're bringing up other deals, they're bringing up other sales. I've seen people bring up Capcom and Devil May Cry and all this stuff that has nothing to do with what Tomb Raider is right now at this point. And the biggest problem that I see with gamers out there is that a lot of you guys are infatuated with it sold X or Y amount. It sold this much, so therefore it was successful and it was a big game and everybody loved it and they made tons of money. But all of that is not reflected on Square Enix's financial reports. Whenever the Tomb Raider games were out there selling and doing what they were doing, it's not like Square Enix was making billions of dollars hand over fist on these Tomb Raider games. And there's a few reasons for that. One, they're very expensive to develop. There's tons of developers, hundreds, thousands of developers out there that are working on these Crystal Dynamics IPs, these Tomb Raiders and all of that. So the overhead for these studios is very, very high. The development period is very, very high. The cost is very high. And then the biggest problem is that when the game releases, yes, you have people rush out there and buy Tomb Raider. It's great. It's fantastic, right? It reviews very well. It's a good franchise. But the problem is the legs. Tomb Raider is one of those games that hits the bargain bin just as fast as any of the other AAA games out there. And when it does hit the bargain bin, it's not like it's selling to the point to where it sells like 20 million or more than that, like you would see with the Horizon Zero Dawn, or like you'd see with an Uncharted or something like that, to where it sells so much per an individual release at that $20 or $30 price point. The sales just kind of fizzle down to about nothing, to the point to where it's like $10 or $14, and that's what the going price for the game is. And that's the biggest problem. That happens way too fast. Yes, you can sell 10 million or 9 million or whatever the case is, but if it's at a fraction of what you would want to get for the game, the MSRP being 60 bucks, if it's for a fraction of that because you're selling it for $14 or $20 a few months after release, that creates a huge problem when you start looking at the revenue, what you spend on it, and then also what you make off it with the profits. Does that mean that it's a flop and it's a failure of a franchise? Absolutely not. It does not mean that at all. What that means, though, is that the franchise is not as popular as the legacy that you guys are saying that it's worth. And I think that's where, oh my gosh, maybe it's worth more comes from. It's Tomb Raider. It's Lara Croft. She's iconic. She's just as iconic as a lot, or if any, of the video game characters out there. She's up there as one of the most iconic video game characters out there, and the games do sell. So people feel that, well, wait a minute, this should be worth $1 billion, or this should be worth $500 million, $500 million. And I'm looking at it like, not with the sales that I see, because I see it hitting the bargain bin way too quick. I see that they really don't have the microtransactions and other things to sustain themselves like a Grand Theft Auto or like other games do once they do hit the bargain bin. And those games aren't selling, like I said, 15, 20, 30 million copies when they are in the bargain bin, like some of the other massive and bigger franchises out there that would demand 500 million to $1 billion if the franchise was to be sold. So that's my analysis. That's what I see, and that's what I've seen from these Tomb Raider games from the beginning. Now, if these Tomb Raider games, because it's been revealed that Tomb Raider Reboot Trilogy sold 38 million lifetime units as of December 2021, if those were all at, let's just say, $40 or up, or $50 or up, this would be a whole different conversation. Tomb Raider would absolutely be worth more than what they got for them, but that's not the case. And once again, you can look at Square Enix's financial records. It's not like that IP is making them so much money and so much profit. They're making more off of the stuff like Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts. When you start incorporating all of the fanfare and merch and the statues and the t-shirts and all that stuff combined, they're making way more off of that. So I'm not trying to say that, oh my gosh, this franchise is bad, it's not worth anything or anything like that. What I'm trying to say is that Deus Ex, it's been revealed, has sold 12 million units with its AAA games in the franchise. So it's a dead IP. It sold 12 million units in the decade plus that it's been around. Along with Tomb Raider, yes, it sold overall 88 million with 38 million in the trilogy, but it's not quite as popular and the games discount very quickly. So you combine all of that with the other dead IP, you're going to get around 300 million. That's what it's going to be. If other companies decided that Tomb Raider was worth more than that based on their own evaluations, because I'm almost positive that Sony and Microsoft and probably Take-Two and all these other companies looked into potentially buying Tomb Raider and adding that to their catalog. It's very appealing. Lara Croft is very appealing in terms of owning it. In Deus Ex, that's very appealing. And the classic stuff like Legacy of Kain, they probably all looked into it and they crunched the numbers themselves and were like, maybe not so much, especially with the overhead and the type of cost that's associated with making a Tomb Raider game. And they were probably worried about the stuff that I talked about. Otherwise, you would have had a bunch more companies offering more money for them. It's not like they can't see the same numbers that people are regurgitating online saying, well, look at Tomb Raider, it does this and this and this. All these companies see those same numbers and even know more based off the profits because they're analyzing and they're looking at what's been going on with Square Enix and everything. So they would know, and they didn't feel that it was worth more than 300 because we've seen companies go for records when it comes to the Bethesda sale and the Insomniac sale and all these other sales. We've seen companies go for good prices. So there's money to be spent on these companies. And if Tomb Raider and all that was worth it, then they would have done it. Now, here's what I will say, though. I think it's the potential that many people feel worth more. And I can understand that. So we can definitely agree on that. Yeah, the potential for Tomb Raider is high. The game could be a 20 million seller. I mean, it could be 15, 20 million unit seller. They could potentially get it to the point to where it's not discounted to $10, a couple months after launch. That is very possible, but it's just not there. And the reboot showed us that it's not there at this point yet. Now, it could get there. The potential's there to be there, but they have to spend the money in order to get it there, and it's going to be tough. It's not going to be something that's going to be easy to put out a Tomb Raider game and everybody goes out there and buys it, especially in today's competition of action adventure games like Uncharted, like Horizon, like the RPGs that we've got now and stuff like that. There's just a lot of competition out there too with Tomb Raider, and not everybody grew up with Tomb Raider in today's day. Just not everybody did. Old people, yeah, we grew up with that, but the newer generation did not. So I do feel that there's a reason why that it sold for what it sold. Now, in the future, the Embracer Group could end up getting the steal of a century if Tomb Raider ends up blowing up bigger than ever. That could happen. I'm simply talking about it from right now, where we know about the franchise and what it's done so far, based off of the stuff that I already talked about. But once again, we have to wait and see what happens, especially with this new Tomb Raider that's coming in Unreal Engine 5, but that's not going to be realized for the next number of years, so it's going to be a while. But we'll see what they do with these IPs. Deus Ex has been dormant for quite some time now too, so we'll see what happens with that. But overall, that's just my opinion on it. If you guys have an opinion, I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the next topic here, guys, we have a confirmation from Nintendo themselves that yes, Splatoon 3 will have a very nice addition or additions at launch of the game or in the game in general. So they talked about various different weapons that are going to be in Splatoon 3 on Twitter, and this is the official Splatoon North America account. They talked about the Squid Research Lab, the shooter weapons out there, how you shoot them, the functions and everything, the Splatter Shot Junior, and also the .96 Gal, and just detailing these weapons. We all know and love them, but the big news from this was this tweet right here. That's it for now, but rest assured that there are many more shooters for you to test and research yourself. In fact, we've been able to confirm that all the basic weapons from previous games will be available in Splatoon 3. Our research continues. Look for more reports soon. So that's definitely a good thing, that all of the basic weapons, which didn't happen in Splatoon 1 to Splatoon 2, will be returning. So you just know right there that they're planning for a huge, massive launch of having weapons and having a lot of content. And I think out of all of the modern shooters out there, I can't think of a single shooter that has done updating and content better than Splatoon 2. It has just been amazing what they did with that game. The Splatfest, the free content, what they did with the everything, the Octo expansion. I think it was a masterclass in handling a ongoing shooter game, giving people that $60 worth of value, but then also continuously adding to keep things fresh with the Splatfest and with the new weapons, the new functions and features. So I think it was great, and I think that Splatoon 3 is going to take it up to the next level with that. But I can't wait to see more. The hairstyles, the outfits, the weapons, the gameplay, everything is looking really fresh at this point. So I'm excited for Splatoon 3 coming out this September 9/9/2022. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So what are your thoughts on Splatoon 3 and all of the confirmations that we have so far here for the game? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, and moving on to the next topic here, guys. The Mother 3 producer has shared his opinion why we haven't seen an official English release for the game. Keep in mind here, guys, there is an extremely good fan translation that is already on the interwebs for everybody to play, but we don't have an official release of the game. So Nintendo Everything has the beat here. Mother 3 originally came out for the Game Boy Advance, but only in Japan. Since then, fans in the West have been clamoring for an English release or an official English release. Now, Shinichi Kamaoka, the producer of Mother 3, recently shared his own thoughts as to why the game has never been localized as part of a Q&A with the Kit and Krista podcast. And here's what he had to say. Quote, "Personally, I think the biggest selling point of Mother 3 is Saito Itoi's unique writing style. Translating the charm and nuances of his writing into other languages is quite a challenge, and maybe that's why it's taken so long to consider international releases of Mother 3. Now, further pressed on this matter, he talked about the characters of Mother 3, and he said that, quote, "Itoi-san had already put a lot of work into and had created characters for the N64 version, so I already had a lot to work with." And he also detailed a couple other things. I'll make sure to have a link to that full Kit and Krista podcast so you guys can get the full story and everything, but there already is a perfectly good translation, so while I understand what he's saying there, it doesn't quite make complete sense because we have a really good official English translation that converts everything just fine. I think it's more due to some of the controversial things in that game and stuff that's said with the text and everything that would be more part of the problem, not the writing style. I think it's actually some of the source material and the communities, or more like the culture surrounding what people think and how a lot of people feel in Japan compared to the West, especially here in the US. So I think that is more of the issue than just his writing style, because I've seen the English translation and people feel that it's just fine. And we're talking about people who are fluent, completely fluent in Japanese and also in English. So the fact that he's trying to say, oh no, it'd be a problem and it's style, it's like, nah, I don't know if I buy that completely. I think that there's some truth to that, but there's definitely some holes in the case there. But those are my thoughts on the matter. What do you guys think about this? When it comes to Tomb Raider, when it comes to the sale to Embracer Group, Square Enix, and what's going on there. Also, Splatoon 3, all of the basic weapons coming back, and of course, Mother 3. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get my videos first. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.